ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः।
Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam for another delightful and divine satsang in the company of the divine goddess, the supreme creative energy of the universe. As always, we shall begin the satsang with a reverential prayer to this divine, powerful elephantine energy residing in our Mooladhara. As you listen to the chant Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha, Allow this elephantine energy, the divine Ganesha, to awaken from within, clear the paths, remove all obstacles, all distractions, so that the mind is free to explore higher dimensions.
Om Gangadapataye Namaha. 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 Namami Nityam Gananatam Smarami Nityam Gajavadanam. Namami Nityam Gananatam Smarami Nityam Gajavadanam. Namami Nityam Gananatam. Namami Nityam Gananatam Smarami Nityam Gajavadanam. Smarami Nityam Gajavadanam. Om Gangadapataye Namaha. 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 Namami Nityam Gananatam Namaha Om Ganganapataye Namaha.
Namaste. For those of you who have just joined, welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. Before we begin the satsang, just one announcement that's on top of my mind. We won't have any classes tomorrow morning or evening. We have just a ton of things to take care of at a personal level. So please kindly excuse us. Tomorrow, we will continue the yoga class on Wednesday morning and the satsangs as scheduled on Wednesday. But I'll also be sending a text message. So for the last few weeks, and especially last Friday, the beginning of Navratri, I realized that we had started learning these mudras. Like I always say, everything is divinely orchestrated. I wanted to do it on the previous Amavasya, but we had something and we couldn't have the class that day. And somehow the video is not ready. And then we got it finally done by Friday. So things happen for a reason. And it's nice to see these signs of encouragement that we are on the right track. So today, let us go to the slides and continue learning these beautiful mudras. So we had learned the first two, and I'll quickly go through them. This was not the video, but just the text. The first one was Sarva Sankshobhini. We talked about vibrations, we talked about agitation, we talked about changing, loosening our rigidity of the earth and the water element, of our conditioned mindset, so that we become creative. Otherwise, we get caught in this robotic cage-like experience where we have built walls of likes and dislikes, good and bad, and then we live in that fortress, not daring to peep outside for whatever reason. And therefore, Sarva Sankshobhini Mudra will actually help. When we understand and study the air element in the Kaivalya Marga classes, we will delve more in detail about how mudras actually help in controlling the pranic energy inside the body, how fingers are connected and so on. So we will understand that a little more in detail, but that is kind of slightly outside the context of the mudras here. I don't want to lose the focus on the mudras. But suffice it to say that these mudras are practical ways of actually bringing into experience, into manifestation, this aspect of creativity coupled with humility. Anyway, so that was Sarva Sankshobhini Mudra. I hope you remember how we did that. So, and then from that, we went into the next, as we go around the third wall, we meet Sarva Vidravini. This energy teaches us how we can, from Sarva Sankshobhini, draw this energy that puts everything to flight, helps us in understanding Mahima Siddhe and the aspect of Maheshwari or selflessness, which comes when the I is given up, right? The self is gone. That's the highest detachment or highest non-attachment, if you will. But for that to happen, there are so many layers of selflessness that has to happen. So because I spent so much time in preparing these slides and keep thinking on this, it was more of and I just want to mention it in a light manner. I dreamt as if Baba and somebody else, I don't figure who it was a feminine energy teaching me Mahima Siddhe of all the Siddhes. And Baba was telling me you have to push the ground and rise and all of that. So it's amazing how when you start deeply engrossing yourself in these practices and begin to incorporate them in your everyday life, you will get guidance, you will get these subtle signs, you will get encouragement. It may not have been a technique which I couldn't remember at all what it was, but he was actually teaching me a technique. Somewhere maybe in some deep layers of unconsciousness it has registered itself. And that's okay. I don't analyze Baba's dreams too much. I just enjoy it. And I said, oh, that's great. I had darshan, and he was, at least he didn't tell me, what are you doing? It was more of encouragement. So I just take it as a positive sign. I think dreams are meant to be like that. We don't analyze them too much, especially dreams where you have darshans of, when I say darshans, you have visions, you have an inclination of your deep thoughts manifesting itself. You have darshan and visions of Sadgurus and deities, divine beings. Then you just take it as grace, and if it doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. You don't have to analyze it too much, because I do get messages or texts sometimes saying, I had this dream, what does it mean? It doesn't have to mean anything. You see, our logical mind, same thing with mudras here, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to touch upon that. The mudras also doesn't have to logically mean something in your mind. Why doesn't have to be? Are we saying not to examine? No. We have to examine these. We have to question these. But in order to understand them, you have to open the intuitive mind, not the analytical mind and the logical mind. Why is that? Because in our analytical mind, logical mind is limited to our education, limited to our language, limited to our capability of expression, period. So with that limitations, if you're going to study something which you have not understood, then what do? You are forcing that to come and take the shape in a way you can understand. And therefore you kill the spirit of it. Rather you let go of the analytical mind, and an intuitive mind is open to experience. Intuitive mind doesn't question. Intuitive mind just absorbs. It looks around. And at that moment it's experiencing, absorbing. When do we have intuitive minds? We all had this in full bloom. If you notice 3 years old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old children, when they experience something for the first time, or even second, third time, because it's so new to them, they are fully involved in that experience. Soap bubbles, colorful sparklers, candlelight, something bright, something shiny, something colorful maybe. They're just watching, as if mesmerized. What is this? They don't question how, what, why, and all of. They're just enjoying it. And in that enjoyment comes maximum absorption. That is why we have to be very careful with 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds in the house, because, and I'm speaking as if I'm a parent, I'm not, but I've understood the importance of that. And I'm just sharing it. This is not a parental advice of any kind, because I'm not authorized to do that. Only a parent understands this. But nevertheless, children's mind are so soft and so, they absorb everything as sponge. So if you're tense in front of them, they say, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. And that gets absorbed deep inside. That intuitive mind has that energy. So we all had that when we were children. And then we were taught A is for apple, B is for bat, C is for cat, D is for dog. And so what happened is we began to structure that knowledge, which is also good in one side of the, but that was only one side of the brain, right? Unfortunately, in modern education, we don't give that much value to intuition, the right side of the brain, creativity and all of that. We don't. It's a hobby for us, right? It's a hobby to sing or paint or dance. All of that is a hobby because all of that develops the right side of the brain. But a holistic education comprises both. Nevertheless, in mudras, therefore, you do the mudras and allow your mind to intuitively feel. Then it's a different kind of learning. The learning that comes to you through experience. It doesn't have to come through expression. In other words, the mind doesn't have to express, aha, this is what it means, this equals this, that equals that. What we are doing here in satsang, we are setting the groundwork and then we are opening ourselves to experiencing. So, having said that, let us now go to the next mudra. We'll go to the slides and go to the next mudra. What is the next mudra? The third one. Third one was Kaumari, right? Mahima Siddhe. So let us see what is this Devi, what is this Shakti, what is this energy, what is this mudra that gives us that Mahima. Mahima is vast and so on. So first let us observe, watch the video, and then we'll come back, understand a little more of this meaning, and then go back to the video. The third mudra
is Sarva Karshani Mudra. Opening palms from the second mudra, straighten the middle fingers, letting the tips touch. Bend the forefingers to touch the tips of the thumbs. Ensure that all these 4 points touch each other. Thus, you have the Sarva Karshani Mudra.
That's fascinating, right? How simple these mudras are. But again, I keep saying this. Because a mudra is simple, doesn't mean it's less effective. Chin mudra, like for example, I keep on saying this because somewhere we have built this into our psyche. Not all of us, many of us, and I've been a culprit to that. Is somehow when you struggle hard and learn something, you feel that has more value. If something just comes to you and you say, oh, this is the mudra, okay, all right. So we tend to disrespect it. We don't understand the value of it because it's easy. Because we are taught again through this left side brain that we have to struggle and only come up in life or struggle to learn something and so on. We feel the joy of achievement comes only after struggle. But sometimes these are the most simplest things. That's why Baba would say the simplest thing is to practice I am God. Practice, in other words, bring it into experience. Why is that simple thing most effective and most difficult to achieve? Because we are unable to understand in that simplicity of acceptance lies the aspect of surrender of the lower self. Nevertheless, let's come back to this mudra. So this mudra again, if you notice the earth and the water fingers are still hidden. It's fascinating how this is still hidden in this mudra, right? You are simply raising now, the fire element goes up and these two come on either side. This is Kaumari, the Kaumari principle. Kaumari principle is based on the Kumara energy, the son of Shiva. So we go back to the slide, you will see as I explain here. They are linked to the Siddhis. What is the Siddhi? Mahima Siddhi. Mahima means becoming big, becoming vast. What does that even mean? That means I'm able to now include, my family is becoming big. What does that mean? I'm no longer just committed to just my small family, but now the Sai family has become my family. You know, so that's why we call ourselves like the Rotary Club is a family or something like that. So we get into these groups and we call them, they become an extended family, right? So Mahima, what is happening? Our consciousness is now somebody else's pain in that family, somebody else's pain becomes our pain. Somebody else's joy becomes our joy. But they're not really blood and they're not related to us by blood, they're not our kith and kin, but our concept of family is the I and mine is begin to accept more and more people as mine. Right? And that continues to grow. That is Mahima. If that consciousness doesn't come, forget all the other aspects of Mahima. If Hanuman became very big and became very small physically, all that was the ultimate expression. Because finally the thought, feeling and everything comes down to matter. Physically it will manifest, but for that physical manifestation, one has to first expand the space, right? The space has to be given and then only you can expand. It's the same thing. Space has to be contracted and then only you can become small. So space, in other words, the akasha, the container of all the other elements have to be first created. So we have to understand consciousness, we have to create that space. In other words, begin to accept everybody. What is that? Inclusiveness, fearlessness. That is what comes here. You're not afraid of losing anything. Oh, if I help all these people, what will happen to me? It doesn't happen like that. It's like I'll give up anything to help people. I don't mind facing 100 hells, if you will, but I will do my best because these are my people. I want to help them. This is what Hanuman took up. You know, he said, as a servant of Ram, his job becomes my job, and I will stop at nothing to carry on. Out of humility came all that. Fearlessness automatically comes because your consciousness begins to grow up. For this to happen in our lives, we perform the mudra. For this, the fire element, starts going up. In other words, fire burns all the dross again. So the Kaumari, the way I meditate upon is, because it's Kaumari, Kumara, the son of Shiva, he's got two wives. So these two sides are Ida and Pingala, and the Sushumna in the center. So this begins to expand the consciousness. So let us look at the mudra one more time and understand that the middle finger going up could be the fire element. It is the fire element, right? As we do in the rituals. So fire element is up, space and air are again met together, and both on either side, they join. They join like this. The forefinger, all these 4 points are joining here. This is the mudra, correct? These two are hidden again, completely hidden from sight. Earth and water element. So none of these mudras will ever help us in anything sense related or earth matter related. They're all deep inside, right? This is what is becoming more active, pulling our consciousness up, bringing balance. There's element of balance here, right? And the energy going up. So it's a very fascinating mudra to meditate upon. When you do it, watch it and just simply meditate on it intuitively. Think about it. And the question also that came up was, and these are things I'm just going to answer as we go along, instead of having a separate FAQ session as such. The question was, when can we do these mudras, right? The answer would be any time, but the caveat there is, don't do it with disrespect. Don't just say, oh, okay, well, I have nothing else to do, let me try it, and then you're watching TV and doing this. It will have absolutely no effect. In fact, if anything, you will lose the efficacy and the effectiveness of the mudra. Why is that? Because mudras are where the mind has to stay focused, and you have to focus on that and just see, what am I doing? And be fully mindful of that. When I'm in this mudra, is my shoulders tight? Is it relaxed? Can I watch it? Is it more together? One of the reasons why I'm not satisfied 100% of the videos, I was not able to see the mudras, right? I said I was keeping my hand above my head and doing it blindly because I wanted the camera to be right there, so for clarity's sake. But when I watch it, I try to focus on every small imbalance perhaps and wonder, what can I correct that? Can I correct this a little bit? Without compromising on the main one. For example, if I'm like this, maybe my two fingers are not together, one is up, one is down maybe, or something like this, or this is slightly, this finger could be bent, one finger could be bent, and one finger is straight. So these are the things you want to watch. So in other words, mindfully apply the mudra and think of that gate in the Sri Chakra. The Devi, that is the Matrika Devi, Kaumari, Kumara's energy, Lord Kartikeya, Murugan, he is in this mudra. This is the energy of that mudra. Fire is going up, so it's related to my Manipuraka. Like this, you begin and enter into a state of meditative mindset. Then, even if you're holding it for 5 minutes, and that's all it is, and then just say, just prayerfully come out of the mudra and say, I'm so grateful for learning something nice. And that's all. It doesn't have to be a ritual. You don't worry about taking shower before or after. Do you have to sit in front of the altar? None of that is required. What is required is your mindfulness, a reverential approach to the practice. And when you are in the mudra, holding the mudra, completely engage yourself in the mudra and understand the connection with these three energies. Let's watch that video one more time, so that it stays imprinted in your mind.
The third mudra is Sarva Karshani Mudra. Opening palms from the second mudra, straighten the middle fingers, letting their tips touch. Bend the forefingers to touch the tips of the thumbs. Ensure that all these 4 points touch each other. Thus, you have the Sarva Karshani Mudra.
Beautiful. Let's move on to the next mudra. The next mudra is Sarva Vashankari. Sarva Vashankari. That is the fourth one, right? Sarva Vashankari. Let us see how this mudra is done, and then we will go on to understanding the meaning of this. But even as you're watching, remember this was the Vaishnavi energy. Vaishnavi stood for Vishnu energy, which is execution. Execution connected to excellence and so on. So think of that and simply enjoy. Learn this mudra first and then we'll analyze it, then review it again with the video. So let's watch the video. Sarva Vashankari, the fourth
mudra is Sarva Vashankari mudra. From the third mudra, straighten the four fingers and place them lightly behind, touching the middle fingers. Press the thumbs inward towards the middle fingers. Ensure that your forefingers do not curl around the middle fingers. Thus, you have Sarva Vashankari mudra.
So Sarva Vashankari is fascinating, right? Now you have joined Vayu with the air. So imagine Agni and then Vayu. So Agni is reaching Vayu, Vayu joins together. See the beauty of that, the beauty in which it's all forming. That's why it is important for us to know that one mudra leads into the other. So what is that? Siddhi. The Siddhi was Ishitva Siddhi, the Lordship. Vishnu is, what did Krishna say? Everything is from me. I am the Lord, the creator of the whole universe. The I am principle, that excellence comes from that Ishitva, the Lordship. So that, once you establish that, then Vaishnavi comes, execution is always accompanied with excellence. Then it becomes divine execution. It becomes selfless execution. Why? Because Maheshwari is already there to create selflessness. Kaumari is there to create fearlessness. And now with that selflessness and fearlessness, you are beginning to execute. So excellence becomes your mindset. It was the time of Gujarat floods sometime in the 80s. And we were asked to donate old clothes for people in Gujarat. If I remember right, it's very, very vague, but the lesson remains with me. And Anantapur people were given the same, Anantapur students were asked to do the same thing, Vrindavan were asked to do the same thing, Puttaparthi students, they said, let's all send clothes. Baba's word is sent word. And so we all did that, and it was either a few days later or something, we had a small session with Baba, and he explained, I told you all to give clothes, and the kind of clothes you all gave, I couldn't even send it to those people. Dirty anta dirty clothes icharu miru. He said, all dirty clothes you all gave, old clothes icharu. Paathavi icharu. Means paathavi means old. You gave old clothes, you gave dirty clothes. And I can't speak for others, but I was looking at Baba and I was thinking, oh well, I mean, you asked us to give it to people, and where do we go? Should we buy clothes and give or what? I mean, that thought even didn't strike to me at that moment, and I'm sure all the other students also expressed that moment of complete blankness, because what is charity? When you give your second-hand clothes, or when you give your used stuff, when it's no longer useful for you, when you give it away, that's charity, right? It's common sense. He said, this is the beauty, and I'm talking of Vaishnavi, right? The energy that was working through Baba. These were all those energies that were rampant in his personality. Okay? He said, these people have already lost everything in the floods. If they receive your old clothes, would it make them happy? Or would they remind them of what they have lost, the good clothes they lost, and they are receiving old clothes? Is this the kind of charity I expect you to give as devotees, as students? Is this what you learned from Swami? And Swami was not angry. He said, how can you give something which is useless to you to somebody who has lost everything? Shouldn't you be giving the best to raise their spirits up? See, we are thinking of us when we give charity, right? It's not useful for me, so I'm going to give it away. We are thinking of us. If it is useful for me, no. I know, poor thing, I feel so bad for you, I'll pray for you, but I'm going to hold on to this, right? We do that. Why? Because we are thinking of us. That Maheshwari and Kaumari are not fully awake. Baba said, therefore, I kept all your clothes, but I've given them new clothes. I have sent new clothes for them. I have sent new clothes for them. This is excellence in action. This is excellence in action. This is where fearlessness and selflessness manifests into excellence in action. People talk about seva. When can we do seva? Is seva or service, is it a project? Is it an idea? Is it a concept? Is it only restricted to Sunday mornings when you prepare food for soup kitchen, or when once in a month you prepare food for the poor people, you're doing seva and you put it as a project? Is that all it is? Or does seva become an attitude in you? And that attitude becomes your second nature to help. And that help begins from home. And it extends beyond. I always share this. It may be silly for many people, but to me it's an important thing. Small acts in our lives show us where we are in this excellence, and especially in selflessness and fearlessness. When you're parking in your parking lot, let us say, do you choose the nearest one to the store, or you say there are a couple of spots available, you know what, I'm going to leave those spots near the store for some old people who may not be able to walk. I will park a little away anyway. And I never even bother to look near the store. I will always, given a chance, park it. Unless if I have older people in my car, yes, I will drop them and come and park. As a small thing, for example. If we make that as a habit, and then you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm not getting parking space anywhere close, and we get one slot and we somehow squeeze and grab it and we say, oh, Swami's grace, Baba's grace, God's grace, I got a parking lot very close, I got to park my car. But I think it was an opportunity given to us to say, why, if you are given that, can you leave that space for somebody else who may need it more than you, may need it, right? A simple thing. You don't have to take this literally. But I ask myself in these small things, when I put myself first and want to grab that spot, if it's a parking spot or anything like that, then what happens is these energies that I have just propitiated go back into being dormant. They don't have room there because I have occupied that space. In me, the I comes up. So when there is excellence, excellence is therefore a product of all of the other. The fearlessness, selflessness, and then comes excellence. And for that excellence, the beauty is the Vayu joins the air. Again, space is still covering earth and water here. The Vayu joins. In other words, Vayu signifies discipline. You have to control air. You can't just simply say, oh, air. Fire always goes up. Fire also needs a lot of control. Fire. Okay? Air, you need a lot more control because you can't see. Fire, to a certain extent, you can control. It's easier to control. Why? Because you can see it, right? You can see. Water is even easier relatively to control because you can see it and touch it. And earth as well. So one thing, that's why earth sculptors, you can sculpt earth, but you can't sculpt water. So like that, it becomes more and more progressively difficult for us to control. So Vayu and Agni both together come into excellence. Excellence, therefore, is not easy. In other words, you need tremendous sadhana. When I say tremendous sadhana, I have to correct myself and caution, don't get ideas that I have to stand on my head for 5 hours and 7 hours and that kind of rigorous austerity. Tapas comes from regularity, regular principle. So maybe we don't have a satsang or a yoga class tomorrow, but you can practice. This is only a facilitation, right? But you can always find a time for your own practice. In other words, keep that practice going till the Vayu Tattva in us. And the air, the fire and the air both together become controlled. Then comes excellence. Automatically it will come. So this mudra brings us into that dimension of Vaishnavi, the Vishnu energy. Everything that Vishnu did was excellent, right? Every avatar of his, every incarnation of his was pregnant with wisdom. As Rama, he was the perfect role model. As Krishna, he was the greatest teacher of the highest wisdom. As Parashurama, he showed us how to be a true spiritual warrior. As Vamana, he showed us how height and physicality has nothing to do with the wisdom that you can contain, and so on. Every incarnation has had great teachings. That is that energy of excellence when it flows. And that was the energy we saw in Baba every day, in and out. Excellence. Whatever you do, do your very best. Everything has to be the best. So that was Vaishnavi Tattva. And this mudra helps us that if I can bring discipline into my life, if we can, intensity is there, right? Intense devotion is fire. But intense devotion has to be, see, the Vayu is coming from the outside. I have the fire fingers are touching each other. And then you have the two Vayus just sitting on top of the fire. That's why I said don't take it behind like this. This is not the right way. Just sitting. In other words, the fire is not allowed to burn exceedingly here and there. The air controls the fire and makes it a flame, a beautiful flame bringing excellence into our consciousness. So for that to manifest, the mudra comes. So when you meditate on this mudra, meditate on excellence, meditate on the siddhi, allow that energy to flow into this. It's amazing how, believe it or not, then talents and all of this, suddenly doors begin to open. You may not sing like somebody else, or you may not dance like somebody else, but your own inherent talent, whatever that is, will begin to surface. Because you are very unique, I am very unique, every person, every child, every woman, every man, every being on this earth is unique. There is a divine purpose for your existence. But we lose that because we want to become like somebody else. That's where we begin to lose that uniqueness. When you begin to do these mudras and bring in the sadhana and discipline, your unique ability, your unique talent, whatever that is, you will discover it and it will begin to express itself through you. There you will find fulfillment in your life. It could be being the best lawyer, I don't know. If that is your inherent talent, it will come. Because we say, how do I know what career to take or what path to make? How do I get these visions? How do I get a purpose in life? These mudras, these spiritual practices begins to open that door. Very beautifully, these will begin to manifest. And along with that comes all the talents that is required for that innermost, your inherent fulfillment, which is your true nature. All talents will come to serve that, to make that happen. Because that is you. So don't worry about singing like somebody else or dancing like somebody else or doing creative arts like somebody else. Find what is your unique ability and bring excellence into that ability. Practice the mudras and you will find that expression makes you a unique individual. That is when your Devi will begin to manifest. This Sri Chakra is inside you. These Devis are inside you. So you have to open those doors, allow them to express themselves. That is the beauty and the power that is within us. That is why Baba would say even the Devas, the divine beings would want to be born as human beings. Jantu nam nara janma durlabham. Among all beings, taking birth as a human being is most precious, is very rare. So we have earned this for whatever reason. Due to our past karmas, our consciousness has evolved to now to this. And in the human birth itself, we have evolved from consciousness which are tied down to when am I going to get my next meal. From there we have evolved to a point where you and I are now sitting and talking of higher dimensions. What are we waiting for then? Let's continue in that path. Let us see the next mudra. One more mudra. I have to do this before today's class because it's connected to the third mudra. So third mudra was like this. Now pay attention to the fifth one. Okay, this was the third, this was the fourth. Let's review this, right? Maya, we have not reviewed this. So let's review the Sarva, Vashankari, and then we'll go on to the fifth mudra. Let's review that.
The fourth mudra is Sarva Vashankari Mudra. From the third mudra, straighten the four fingers and place them lightly behind, touching the middle fingers. Press the thumbs inward towards the middle fingers. Ensure that your forefingers do not curl around the middle fingers. Thus, you have Sarva Vashankari Mudra.
So, Sarva Vashankari is captivation. When I say captivation, is you're so involved into that, you're captivated into your, because it's your energy that's coming out. That's why I use the word captivation. You're not captivating others. You are captivated by your own energy, and you want to give in your very best into that. Like Baba was so into his mission. That is what struck me the most, and that's what I shared with in every satsang, even though I stand the risk of being repetitive, I don't care, because that's the greatest lesson. You go within you and bring out your very best and keep working on it, keep working on it. That's the beauty. He was so into it. I have a mission and that's it. He was completely captivated by what? By his own mission, by his own personality, by himself. The purpose, the mission, everything was, that's all that was for him. That's why even though he was in the four walls, which was the smallest rooms that one can ever imagine, without any paintings and big windows and everything, he still had that breath of fresh air. He was the one giving happiness and joy to everyone, not vice versa. So, that is the power of the Sarva Vashankari Mudra. Let us go to the next one. The next one is Sarvon Mardini Mudra. This is a very fascinating mudra. Sarvon Mardini Mudra. So let us see what that mudra is.
The fifth mudra is Sarvon Mardini Mudra. From the fourth mudra, release the thumbs, bend the four fingers, and once again touch them to the tips of the thumbs. Then separate the two thumbs. This is similar to the third mudra, but the difference is that we separate the thumbs and keep them apart. Thus, you have the Sarvon Mardini Mudra.
So did you see now, in the fifth mudra, we are getting a glimpse of the ring finger and the little finger, right? What is this mudra about? What is this mudra about? This mudra is connected. Who are the other Devis here? Who are the other energies in that corner there? You have Vashitva Siddhe. Vashitva, like I said, Vashikaran, Vashitva, we say role model. I put the word role model because that is the best way to influence others. Vashitva, if you take a literal translation, it means I want to control others. I want to influence others. I want others to listen to what I have to say. I want others to believe in what I believe. That comes when you are the role model, automatically it happens, right? I explained how Baba, he didn't have to exert this Vashitva Siddhi in the way we understand it in a very rudimentary fashion, that he somehow influenced it with his magical powers. No, he was a role model of everything he spoke, and therefore he inspired us to follow him, to follow his lifestyle, follow his belief systems, follow the path he laid out for us, right? So that is Vashitva. And the best way to understand Vashitva Siddhi is role model. We have understood that. Varahi, leadership comes from there. The best form of leader is one who embodies, who models behind what he talks. We are all trying our best to do that, right? But that trying has to continue. It never has to stop. So that's a role model. Now, what is that Sarvon Mardini? Sarvon Mardini is, it's in line with that self-captivation from there. Here, it's you're intoxicated in that role model. What is intoxication? Your thought, your word, and your deed is completely immersed in that, in whatever it is you're in. If that's a role model, then your thoughts don't go out of that. Your words speak that. Your actions are constantly nurturing. In other words, you're completely intoxicated, right? So here they give us, this is a very powerful mudra. Why do I say this is powerful? Is because number one is the fifth mudra. It's in the middle of the 10th mudras. Anytime there is a middleness coming, then you know that there is energy there. So when you do air, once you finish the air, you join them together, space and air, and then you open up to reveal earth and water. Here, given the idea here, this is the mudra, right? If I'm getting it into the camera, yeah, there you go. So this is the mudra. You don't join them. It's not hidden. You open up and you get a glimpse of the water element and the earth element. So in other words, for us to get completely involved and be a role model, our thought, word and deed is not restricted to simply superficial thoughts, but you have to go deep inside your core belief system, your deep unconscious, subconscious mind, your likes, dislikes, your tastes, your senses. Everything has to be aligned. Sarvon Mardini is intoxication. It's more of a metaphor here. It's actually literally translated. It's a plant like marijuana or something. But I don't want to throw those ideas because then you'll say, oh, this is what is prescribed. It's ridiculous to jump into that kind of conclusion. But why did they use that? Because those plants intoxicate. You can't think of anything else. You're completely absorbed in that experience. So that kind of experience comes in this mudra. Sarva Vashankari is related to Sarvon Mardini Mudra. Sarva Vashankari Siddhi is related to Varahi, who in turn brings and gives us this mudra, where you get a glimpse of your deep innermost core belief system in the earth. The Mother Earth, in other words, the base of our spine, stores. What do they store? They store all experiences that we have gained, not only in this birth, in previous births as well. So all of that is stored. So we go deep inside and make sure every one of them begins to reflect. If there are certain things there which are causing a hurdle, I go and remove them. I remove all those, reframe my taste buds. That's why we are talking of fire element and diet and all of that is because I have to reframe everything. Sarvon Mardini, self-intoxication. If you take the lifestyles of Bhakt Meera, Sant Tukaram, Gora Kumbhar, Alvars and Nayanars, and their devotion is nothing less than the most intense yoga practice. That is the kind of devotion that they had. That is, they were intoxicated, they were captivated. All these mudras became redundant for them at that level because they went through all of this. They searched for God in all these things and finally got into that zone. So let us not just say, oh, bhakti is there, it's enough, I don't need to get into all these complications. That bhakti that you and I define bhakti is nowhere close to the bhakti that is presented in the Bhagavad Gita. Sito Ushna Sukha Dukkeshu Samasanga Vivarjitaha Tulya Ninda Stitir Mauni Santushto Yena Kenachit. Like that, Bhagavan Krishna explains who is my favorite devotee, right? Santushta Satatam Yogi Yathatma Dridhanishchayaha Maya Arpatir Mano Buddhir Yomad Bhakta Same Priyaha. Like that he explains. So that is bhakti. So that bhakti, that kind of intoxication has to come for that bhakti to manifest itself. So we begin these spiritual practices with devotion, and slowly these practices, they don't take away devotion. Don't say you will lose devotion and bring knowledge in its place. It's all our weird ideas of how to think in stylos. Forget that. Devotion will become a very beautiful experience. Jnana, devotion, all of that will merge together and give you the experience of the sublime higher consciousness. There is no doubt about it. Have no doubt about it. None of these things are either irrelevant or less required, if you will, less important because you felt it is too much, I don't want to get into all of this, Baba is there, he'll take care. That is our way of saying, I don't have time for this. Let us see, some other time I'll do. If there comes with true devotion, then it's a very different thing. So, let us stop tonight with these mudras. I hope you find these mudras useful and exciting, as I do every time I meditate upon them. May the Divine Goddess, during these days of Navaratri, Shamala Navaratri, as it is called in the south, Magha Navaratri or Gupta Navaratri, as it is called in the north, it's 9 days of, once again, time to meditate and spend time in deep spiritual introspection, contemplation of the Devi principle. And we are blessed that we are studying the Khadgamala Stotra, and especially the mudras that are actual practical energy channeling powers that the rishis have blessed us with. Let us end this satsang as always with a small offering of bhajan.
Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Amba Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Jagadambe Ma Jagadjanani. Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Amba Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Jagadambe Ma Jagadjanani. Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Om Shri Matre Namaha. 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 Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Amba Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Jagadambe Ma Jagadjanani. Bhairavi Ambe Bhavani. Narayani Patita Pavani. Narayani पतित पावनी पति पुरंजनी साई जननी पति पुरंजनी साई जननी भैरवी अम्बे भवानी अम्बा भैरवी अम्बे भवानी जगदम्बे माँ जगज्जननी भैरवी अम्बे भवानी नारायणी पतित पावनी नारायणी पतित पावनी पति पुरंजनी साई जननी पति पुरंजनी साई जननी भैरवी अम्बे भवानी ओम श्री मात्रे नमः ओम श्री मात्रे नमः ओम श्री मात्रे नमः ओम श्री मात्रे नमः समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ओम शांति 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 May all the beings in all the worlds be happy. जय बोलो पवन सुत हनुमान की जय सियावर रामचंद्र की जय सतगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव ओम शांति शांति